Hi, my name's Tony Avina, and I want to help you learn how to design t-shirts in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. I know there's a lot of tutorials out there that walk you through all of the tools in Illustrator and Photoshop, and at the end you're able to design something. I want you to be able to just jump right in now and design while learning the tools, if that makes sense. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to get into Illustrator and open a new document. So you can click, or we're going to create a new document, excuse me. We can click here on create new, or you can push Command N if you're on a Mac, Control N if you're on Windows. And we're designing something that we're going to upload to Merch by Amazon. So our settings here is we're going to change the units to pixels, and we're going to go 1080 pixels by 1296 pixels. So you just go in here, 1080, push tab, 1296. And what this is going to do is when we export it as a PNG, it's going to give us the correct dimensions to upload to Merge. And our color mode here, we're going to go with RGB. Okay, so once we have all that done, we're going to hit create, click on create. And now the next thing I want to do before I get started is make sure that my default black is a rich black, because most of the time when you're working in RGB, your black is going to be a grayed out black. So I'm going to go over here to my swatches palette. And if you don't know where that is, it's the one that looks like a checkerboard, or you can go to window and then to swatches. And this first black swatch right here, I'm going to double click. Then I'm going to change all these values to 0. And then I'm going to click OK. So now we're set up. We have a nice rich black, and we're going to start right in on our design. We're going to design something on a path first. And what I want to do here is grab my ellipse tool. So I'm going to go here. Right now it's set to rectangle, but if I click on this and hold, it'll show me more options, and I can use the ellipse tool. I could push L on my keyboard as a shortcut. So if I have something else selected, if I have let's say I have the rectangle tool selected, I just push the L button on my keyboard, and it'll change it right to the ellipse. Okay, and I still don't have a rich black, so let me see what I did. Oops. Okay, double click this, 0, 0, 0. Okay, we're good. Okay, so what I want to do here is make myself an ellipse. Now, normally, a lot of times when you're first starting and you want to make something go around a curve, you will use the distort tool, and that is not the right way to do it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to type something out. It's going to say words on curves. Now, if I use the distort tool here, make envelope, I can arc this however much I want in either direction. But what that does is it distorts the letters. You'll see the N tapers down, all the letters taper towards the bottom because you're not writing it on a path. You're just distorting them into that shape. And the more you do that and the more you get used to the way it looks, the more you'll see how it looks amateurish. And I'm sure, a lot of people don't have a trained eye, so they don't know why things look wrong, but you can usually tell it looks wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my ellipse tool. And when I'm using my ellipse tool, oh yeah, one more thing before we really get started is we need to make sure that we have our smart guides turned on. So we go here to the view menu, and then right here, smart guides towards the bottom, and mine already has a check mark, so that means I'm good to go. And what the smart guides do is, you see right here, if I mouse over the center of my artboard, it shows me center. And that can be helpful with objects too, is it'll show you how things align with each other and how they intersect. So that is very helpful as you're designing. Once you get going and you're designing your own things, then it'll definitely be more important to have those than when you're just following me or following along with me. Okay, so now I'm going to use my ellipse tool. I'm going to start here in the center of the artboard. Now, if I just start dragging, I can make any sort of an elliptical shape. And it starts from the point where I was dragging, and I can make it narrower or taller or wider. Now, if I hold down the Option, it will draw that shape from the center out of where I clicked. And if I hold Option and Shift, it will draw a perfect circle from the center. If I just hold Shift, it'll draw a perfect circle from where I started clicking. So for this one, I'm just going to hold down Option and draw an ellipse. Okay, so once you have this, don't worry so much right now about the size, because we will make sure we are all on the same page. So once I'm here, I want to click on this little link where it says constrain width and proportions, because I don't want to constrain the width and proportions. I want to change these independently. And then let's click this first one and make our ellipse 983. Hit enter, and then click in here, and then we'll make this 704. So now we're all starting with the same exact size shape. And I want to fill this with black for now. So we'll just click, we'll go into our color palette, make sure that the fill is in front and not the stroke, and click the black swatch. Now, if you have a stroke on there, you're going to need to click on the stroke here and bring that to the front. And then we're going to click the none, and that will get rid of your stroke. Now, you can swap the stroke and the fill by clicking this little two-sided, it's like a right angle with arrows, and that'll swap out the fill and the stroke. But we don't want to do that for now. Okay, so this is our first shape. And we want to put type along this path on the top. So what we're going to do, since we're not doing it all the way around, we're not putting text all the way around this circle, I'm going to come over here to my scissors tool and click that. If you don't see the scissors tool, it's the same as erase tool or knife. One of those might be in front, or you can just push C for cut, and I'm going to mouse over till I find this first anchor point on the left side and click. Now I'm going to mouse over this anchor point on the right side and click. Now I'm going to use my direct selection, or my selection tool here, this black arrow. I'm just going to move that out of the way and delete. Okay, now I have my path that I want to put my type on. So I'm going to go to my type tool, which is T for type on the keyboard if you want to do a shortcut. Mouse over till I find the center anchor point. Click and change my paragraph here to centered. My paragraph alignment. And now I'm going to use my direct selection tool, because you see how all the type is on one side of this path. Let's see, let's make that bigger. We'll make it 60 point. All the type is on one side of the path here. So I'm going to mouse over with my direct selection tool this line. There's a line in a little square. I'm going to mouse over that line, and it's going to show me a little symbol that looks like a line with an arrow pointing right. So I'm just going to click on that and drag it to one end of the path. And then I can type in. So we're going to do a shirt here that says Dad Bod Health Club. So first thing we're going to do is type in that Dad Bod. Now, if your type ended up upside down when you clicked on that, it's a simple fix. Let me make my type really big so you can see. Okay, it's a simple fix. There's a line here in the middle, right in the center. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did to drag the boundaries of my type on this left side. I'm going to click on that, and then so you can just move the type up or down or whichever way you need. Okay, so that's that. Make sure that's pulled all the way to the end. Okay, so now let's make this, jeez, let's try 300 point. Oh, that's a little bit big. And there's several ways to change the size of your type. You can either go to one of these pull down menus, but this only goes up to 72. I can use this up arrow or down arrow to make things bigger or smaller. If I know the value I want already, I can just click in here and type it out, or I can go to my type character palette, which is down here. It's an A with the vertical line next to it, and I have the same sort of tools there too. So we're gonna make our type, let's try 275, and that looks good enough. Okay, so now you'll notice that some of these letters are a little closer than others, like this D and A are touching. These ones, each individual letter is pretty far apart, so we want to fix the kerning. And kerning is the space between individual letters. Tracking is the space between every letter. So what that would mean is if I wanted to have my letters spread far apart, then I would have wide tracking. But my kerning would be the adjustment in between each individual letter. So I'm going to go back to my type tool. I'm going to click between this A and this D. I'm going to hold down the Option key and push the right arrow 2 times. Okay, now I'm going to click my right arrow over a couple of times and go here between the B and the O. And I want those to be closer, so I'm going to hold down Option. And if you're on Windows, it's Alt and left arrow to make them closer. And then between the O and the D, make those a little closer. And I think that looks good enough. Oh yeah, one more thing is if you want to change the point size with the keyboard, then you would go Command Shift greater than or less than, and on Windows it'd be Control Shift greater than less than to make them bigger or smaller. Okay, so now I have this, and I want to have a rectangle here that says XXXL. So I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, which is same thing as with the ellipse tool, and I could push M on my keyboard, M, the letter M as in Michael, to make a rectangle. And same thing as the ellipse tool, I can hold down Option and it will draw it from the center. I can hold down Shift and it'll make it a perfect square. So what I want to do is make this, see, that looks about good to me. So again, we'll go up here and resize it so we all have the same exact thing. We're going to make this 518 pixels by 260 pixels and click OK. Now I can keep this as it is, but I want rounded corners on this. So I'm going to use my selection tool, click on my rectangle, and then you'll see these 1, 2, 3, 4 circles in the corners. Now these are very cool because what they'll allow me to do is round the corners as much as I need. So I click on one of them, doesn't matter which one, and I'm just going to drag. It'll take it all the way till it's basically a capsule shape, but I don't need that much. I'm just going to, let's see, make it about roughly about 60 pixels. And that looks good enough to me. And here we're going to put in our XXL, and our type is still black, and I want it on top of this, so it needs to be white. So I can go here to my swatches, click white here, and then type all capital XXXL, and that didn't make it white, which is fine. I'm just going to select it with my selection tool and then use the white swatch. Okay, this is a little bit too big, so I can either make the type smaller or make my rectangle larger. I want to make the type smaller, so I'm going to click on my type, and then you'll see I have this box with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 handles. I'm just going to click one of these handles, and if I just start dragging, it'll distort the type and drag it from that corner. So first thing I want to do is hold down the option, so I'm changing the scale from the center, and then hold down shift so it constrains my proportion so I don't get distortion. Okay, so once I have it about where I want it, which for this is going to be 250 points, then I can go ahead and align these two objects so that they're this text is centered in the rectangle. So I'm just going to click and drag from the bottom here, and now you'll notice this selected my type that was on the path. So all I need to do is, with my selection tool, hold down shift and click, and it will deselect that. Now here on this top toolbar I have all of my alignment tools, but let's go into the alignment palette just so you can see a few things. Now by default this section down here is not going to be visible, so first thing I want to do is show options, and now I can align my object to selection, to key object, or align to an artboard. For now I'm just going to align this to a selection, and the first thing I want to do is here under align objects, the second one, and this is going to align it, it's going to center it left to right. And this one over here on the right side, vertical align center, is going to align it top to bottom, and that is not right. So what I need to do here is I'm just going to convert this to text. Okay, type, create outlines. I'm going to change this to outlines. It's Command Shift O or Control Shift O. Okay, now I can align that to the center. Okay, from here we're almost done actually with this design. So we're going to make this bottom line a text, and this one is going to say Health Club. And you see my smart guides are showing me where the center of things are. So once I have that, I can, what I want to do here is draw some guides so I can see where the edges of this design are, because I don't want this line to be that much wider than the rest of the design. So what I'm going to do is push Command R, and on Windows it'd be Control R to show my rulers. And I'm going to this left ruler, and I'm going to click and drag all the way to the edge of this D on the top of dad bod. And then same thing, click and drag to the left edge of the top D. So I'm going to click on this text, grab this handle, hold down Option and Shift, and then just move this until it is aligned as much as I can on this left side. And then I'm going to use my arrow key, my left arrow, to nudge it over. And okay, on this side I'm going to click this top right handle and just hold down Shift and just drag it until it's roughly aligned. So now I have my dad bod health club. Now one thing is, if you're exporting this and moving it over to merch, you'll notice that this part, this is white, and you want it to be, I want it to be the color of the shirt, and I don't want it to be white. You can keep it, you can make it whatever color you want. But for me to change that, I need to click on the rectangle, click on the text, and then I'm going to use my Pathfinder and I'm going to merge. So the bottom one, 1, 2, 3, merge. Now, the next thing I need to do here is use my direct selection tool and click, and that's selected all of the letters. Then I'm just going to delete. Now, when I move this over, you'll see that it's knocked out. So that's exactly what I want. Now that I have all my elements together, I want to make sure that I'm centered on my artboard. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to use my Align palette again. And I'm going to change my option to Align to Artboard. Now, Align Objects, Horizontal Align Center. Click that. And now I should be centered to my artboard. Let me do one more thing actually. I'm going to go to View, Guides. I'm going to clear my guides. And I'm going to convert this. I'm going to use my selection tool. Click that, click there. And I'm going to convert those to outlines. So type, create outlines. Now I'm going to select everything again. Make sure I'm aligning to artboard. Horizontal align center. And now everything should be aligned to the center, so when you upload it to merge, you don't have to worry about your design being off to one side. Okay, from here, you can play with this. You can make this, spread these out if you want. I can click everything, and let's see, if I distribute objects, vertical center, it'll space them out that far. It's to the artboard. So if I change this to align to selection, distribute objects, and that'll center everything. It'll distribute everything evenly. And now I can upload this as is. I can add one more line here. Property of, let's see, we'll make this, let's make this 120 points. Same thing. I can select it. Well, let me change this to a path. So again, type, change, create outlines. Now I can align this again, center, and distribute my objects if I want. I might want to keep this a little closer. I think since this is smaller, I like the way this looks that way. And then select everything, make sure I'm aligned to artboard, center everything to the artboard, and this is good to go. So now the next thing I'm going to do here is export my design. This is, yeah, so I go to File, Export, Export As. And then I'm going to name this Dad Bod. Format PNG. I'm going to click Use Artboards. If I don't click Use Artboards, it won't export the entire artboard. It will just export from the perimeter of the design. So it would just be a very actually, it would be right to the edge of the design on all sides, and that wouldn't be what you needed to upload to merge. So I'm going to do that. Use Artboards, Dadbod PNG, click Export. Now here on the resolution, I want to do high, 300 ppi, and I can do anti-aliasing. I can do type optimized. Or I can do none. A lot of times I'll do none, so there's no fuzzy edges on my type. Background color, transparent. I'm going to click OK. And now, here's my PNG dadbot. I'll go ahead and open that in Adobe Photoshop and show you that my image size is pixels 4500 by 5400 at 300 ppi, which is what I need for Merch by Amazon. And I can upload this as white if I want. I can let's see, go to my layers, which is here. If I lock the transparency, I can just fill that with white. That's Command Delete on Mac, Control Delete on Windows. Or I could do it in Illustrator before I export. I just click everything here, click the white swatch. You can't see anything here, but when you export with the transparency, it will come up the proper way. Now we'll go ahead and go in and upload this to Merch real quick, just so you can see that it actually works. Okay, so now we're in Merch by Amazon, and I'm on the beta version of the product creator. So we'll just go ahead and click Upload Artwork, find our PNG, dadbot PNG, choose, and it'll upload to whatever products are set for those, for the size of our file. And there's our design. From here we can go ahead and edit the details, add different colors or whatever. But just like that, you have your first Merch by Amazon design from Illustrator and ready to go. You can use the techniques that you learned in this tutorial for lots of different layouts, and I would just suggest going back and practicing until you got the feel of the tools and you can use them on your own. And we'll take what we learned in the next and take it to the next tutorial, and we'll add a few other things for you to learn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. Leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.